Greetings, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and good night, whatever it is, wherever you are. Hello, and welcome to the channel. The sun is hiding, and the magpie is casting. Coming to you guys today with a live 1 versus 1 battle, featuring us spawning in the north. It's going to be the Soviet forces of Alcoholic, who has gone straight away to pick the defensive tactics doctrine. So just hit the old pause button on the YouTube channel if you want to see anything else about this this doctrine. I'm just going to leave it on there for a second, and spawning in the south, it's going to be the Overcommand West forces of Disturb1ng, which obviously is supposed to say disturbing, which is what I'm going to call him. Map today is going to be Crossing in the Woods, good old tried and tested classic map. I'd say if I was playing against somebody I'd never played before and I wanted to introduce the game to them and just get a feel for the tactics and whatever, I would say this is like my favorite like go-to map for a decent 1v1 brawl. I do have a lot of fun on this map. It's nice. It's also quite well balanced. There's no spawn bias as far as I know. So pretty good times there. Shver of Max Schlepper moving on up on the left flank here. Now Alcoholic, like I said earlier, he has gone for this defensive tactics doctrine. I wonder if it was he who I watched who used it before. It was somebody crazy. So you know, maybe all of the spirits and lager is just helping him just pick the lesser picked commanders, just kind of test them out in the field. It's a pretty cool commander, but all 5 of his abilities unlock CP2, which obviously we haven't reached and won't for a little while. So picking it at this timing, unusual, but clearly this was Alcoholic's plan from the get-go, and seemingly it is just what he wanted to do. So he's just going to go ahead and pick it before it even gives him any benefits. Now, pardon me. We've got some Penal Legion coming in here. That means that the tech of choice for Alcoholic gonna be that tier 1 tech. We've got a scout car coming up behind this. Scout car's not going to be here in time, I think. I don't know actually. If the scout car beelines it to this location for some reason and finds that constructing truck, this is going to be a real short game. This infantry, I mean, if the Soviet player knew, if Alcoholic knew, he could just push on this building. But these Volks for now, doing their job, which is usually just buffering and buying time. That is what Volks Grenadiers, that is their lot in life, that's what they do. I keep checking the progress on that building to see if it's done yet. Uh-oh. If the M5 chases, it will find the building. I just think it's going to find it slightly too late. Yeah, it'll find it too late. So, pardon me. Disturbing seemingly gotten away with this moderately risky placement. There we go, a little bit of damage going to be put on. The M5 gets some shots in. The Soviet player Alcoholic, he now knows, if he was paying attention through the haze, where the Battle Gripper HQ is for the Overcommand West player. Now the scout car is going to get some engineers loaded up onto it. It's going to do its job, which is just running around harassing stuff. These Volks Grenadiers are going to try and get back to the building. Storm Pioneers kind of in position. Storm Pioneers are quite good against the scout car actually. If they get close to it, those STG-44s hammer the damage into the lightly armoured scout vehicle. So that's a thing we could see happen. Let's take a look at the force compositions here as these Storm Pioneers try and keep the 3 Soviet units at bay. Looks like we've got it's double Volk into Rakettenwerfer for disturbing, and seemingly it's in some order engineers and 2 squads of penals with a scout car. So so I believe it was engineers into penals into scout car into penals, but I wasn't paying. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I wasn't paying 100% attention specifically to the build order from the Soviets. Another squad of penals coming in, bringing it up to 3. So anyway, seems like we got the flamethrower upgrade for this penal squad. They're going to hop in the scout car and do some older drive-by flaming. Standard stuff. Soviet players have been doing this since the game pretty much released. And so he's going to look to do some work there. Soviet player also establishing fantastic control over the battlefield. If I crack the tack, you can see the state of affairs. Just 4 points right now. Under control for disturbing. The Soviet player in control right now of pretty much the 3 victory points. This left-hand one might be about to change hands. And Flamer Scout Car going to come on in here, going to be really annoying. By capping this point, this is the crucial one of course, by capping this point it controls this territory here. So there we go. Now the Overcommand player is basically getting no resources for, actually only 1 point being cut off. Oh wow, a camo Rakettenwerfer gonna look to get the scout car. Too little too late sadly, that scout car is long gone. Only infantry left behind. A couple of Volks Grenadiers here, awkwardly sandwiched. They've got another squad over here just helping them out at long range. We could see, no actually no. It's not the AI we're dealing with here, we're not going to see a satchel charge. There is a flamethrower out on one of these squads of penals, here he is. So the Flamer squad, they're going to find the Rakettenwerfer, they're going to start damaging the building, and this is all looking rather tasty for the Soviet players. Does he have enough munitions for, wow, some mines in a fantastic position. Disturbing being super cunning. The first satchel charge comes down. That's going to put the truck to just above 50% HP. Storm Pioneer's doing fantastic damage to these retreating penals, though. Going to gun down a couple more models from that squad. Scout car and another squad of penals nearby, and we've got a pretty heated start to this game. Loving the aggressive tactics from the Soviet player, but Disturbing so far seemingly on top of it. Needs to repair this building, and he is, simply because another satchel charge, genuine risk, could destroy it now. One thing, I would love it if he would just mow down all these wounded Soviets. The reason being, these wounded little troopers, they do provide line of sight. There we go, they've all just died. They do provide line of sight, and so your opponent knows that you've committed your Storm Pioneers to repairing, which will affect his decision making in upcoming battles. He just knows that the Storm Pioneers won't be a squad he has to worry about flanking him, and things like that. So it's a small thing, but it can actually make a difference. Volksgrenadier is going to displace these engineers in mid. They're going to capture the central victory point. Scoreline right now showing an early lead for the Soviet player, as you would expect, really. 491 over the 434 of the Axis forces. So nearly a 60 ticket lead there. 57 the margin. So yeah, interesting opening from both players. I would say the early lead going to Alcoholic most definitely. We'll see if he decides to actually use any of these abilities that his commander gives him access to. Now that he's moving up, he's very close to getting that 2 CP requirement, which unlocks all 5 of the abilities. So he could call in the spicy Dansack, he could call in the mini AT gun, he could call in the 120mm mortar squad, you know, a lot of things he can do. Now, as I recall, from having watched him before, now a Kugelwagen would have been really nice, actually. A Kugelwagen would have been really good for holding that. Anyway, in the previous game that I cast, I believe involving Alcoholic, he did make heavy use of these PMD6 AP mines. Now these are like telemines for the Axis forces. They build in like 4 quadrants, so look to see him use those. M5 Scout Car going to come in, just poke at these Storm Pioneers. The Storm Pioneers are in heavy cover, so they're just kind of dealing some damage right now to these Penal Legion. The Penal Legion's going to advance forward. There's a Schroeder Max Schlepper here that's going to be detected. I wonder if the Scout Car's going to take a dive for it. The Storm Pioneers find themselves flanked, and they're now getting roasted and toasted. They need to pull back. This is an expensive squad. They need to get the hell out of here. There we go. There's the retreat order just now. On the right flank, a second squad of Storm Pioneers, this time with metal detector, going to be moving on out and doing what they can there. Soviet forces are going to dominate the left of the map, though. A squad of engineers with a flamer and a squad of pioneers going to be pushing around there, and that's actually a concern. Disturbing's going to have to respond to them at some point, because the flamers will do damage to this building, so he can't just ignore them indefinitely. So we'll see what he does. The Scout Car's going to come on over to the right flank, going to catch these Storm Pioneers off guard. A Dansack spicy machine gun in a decent position, but actually the arc is just totally off, and that's going to be caught out. The retreat order comes down. No incendiary grenade going to be forthcoming, because that would have been a complete waste. So decent work there for Disturbing, frustrating the Soviet player there. So Dansack is the choice from this commander. A 4th squad of penals coming. Man, I'm really quite appreciating this star for Alcoholic. You know, for a guy who's absolutely hammered, he's playing pretty well. You're bringing a really unique build order to the table, a really unique sort of style. He's just got the field hospital at the HQ. No sign of another tech building just yet, but he doesn't necessarily need one. You know, if the Overcommand player was to have gone for the Mechanized Regiment HQ, and looked to get out, you know, a Puma or oh wait, sorry, just going to say, he needs to put away these metal detectors. He puts away one on one squad, not on the other. So that was basically 2 out of 8 Storm Pioneers, 25% of that fighting force that was not dealing damage in that little rush there from the Storm Pioneers. A small note, but definitely one that makes a difference. Anyway, yeah, as I was saying, if the Overcommand player had gone for the Mechanized Regiment HQ, gone for a Puma or a Flak half-track or what have you, then this little mini AT gun, the M42, would be a handy counter to that. Yeah, I really like this. It'll even deal with Panzer IVs and stuff. It's a really good anti-tank gun. Just is really good. Soviet players, if you've got a commander who uses it and you've been on the fence about calling in that unit, I say call it in. I think it's really good. How much is it anyway? 200. Oh, damn, that thing's a bargain to boot. So a number of penal squads here, and also the Rakettenwerfer seems to have been forgotten about. 2 engineers kind of putting the finishing touches on that. Now we'll see if the Rakettenwerfer's crew can take care of it, but I kind of doubt it. 1 squad of Volksgrenadiers, there we go. 1 squad of Volksgrenadiers forced back. They're going to retreat. It seems like the forward fallback point has been researched, so I like this from Disturbing. It's a good ability to have. I kind of think his positioning on this truck is a bit suspect. Like, ask yourself, what advantages is he getting by putting it here that he wouldn't have by putting it here or here? And that would enable him to access the right-hand side of the map a lot easier, and probably make this building a lot easier to defend as well. So I don't know. It's you know, you take it or leave it. I mean, by putting it around here or around here or here, it is easier for the Soviet player to attack it over the main bridge, but then again, it's also easier for you to hold the main bridge. So, you know, personally, I prefer to deploy my battle group at HQ in a more central location, simply because that allows me to access all points on the map with equal ease. Whereas by deploying it off on one flank, as is the case this time, you see, it's really hard for the Overcommand player to maintain a presence on the right-hand side of the map. Anyway, we've got a massive move out of Overcommand forces. Dansak has a lot of them in arc, though. That's going to provide a lot of suppression. This is going to be a massive suppression. Why is it not firing? Oh my goodness, that machine gun was not set up. Schwerver Max Schlepper has been deployed into the Schwerer Panzer HQ at the back. Incendiary grenade comes down onto the Dansak. That's going to force that back. All being well, it will get out of there. A little run by of engineers here. Oh dear, this is a movement command, which should have been an attack move or even just a fallback, because these engineers. Oh no, now they're going to have to run back through the Storm Pioneers. This is risky times, but it looks like that engineer might just make it. It's still too early to say. Storm Pioneers have decent mid-range accuracy. Yeah, I'd say he's out of there now. So, close, taking it a little bit risky with those flamethrowers. A small mistake there from Alcoholic, but you know, when you're 15 units over the limit, I'm sure these things just happen, you know, as a matter of course. Looks like Fallschirmjäger's coming out for Disturbing. That means that he's chosen his commander. It's going to be the Luftwaffe Ground Forces Doctrine. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with this one. We've all seen it all over the place, been in the game since Overcommand West forces were introduced, and throughout that time has been one of the more solid commanders available to the faction. So, Fallschirmjäger's, of course, a big part of that, and we do see the elite infantry unit on the field now. Seems like they're going to get themselves in some heavy cover here. I wouldn't even mind if they wanted to just push forward, just start putting some fire on these guys. They can always kite back if the penals want to try and get in range with the flamethrower. The score lines right now, 475 for the Allied player over the 327, so nearly, I mean, that's a 148 ticket lead, you know, that's pretty impressive stuff. So, as we move up to the 12-minute mark, here comes a T-70 light tank, the tank of choice for Alcoholic. Now, obviously, when you're totally wasted, microing a small tank like this might be difficult, but then again, you know, it might be the same as when you're playing pool. There's that sweet spot when you've just had just the right amount to drink and you're actually much better at playing pool. So, maybe that's how Alcoholic works. In fact, maybe that's how Company of Heroes as a whole works for him. He's actually just kind of a little bit bad at Company of Heroes, but after he's had, you know, quite a lot to drink, he suddenly becomes really, really good. So maybe he's that kind of player. Looks like the Rakettenwerfer is going to stalk the light tank though, and you've got to imagine that should get the kill, even with these engineers here. There we go, gets deployed, there's the shot, there's the kill. So a sad loss there for Alcoholic. Kind of feel like he got slightly unlucky there. The Fallschirmjäger were able to get the Panzerschreck, not usually a tool that Overcommand West have access to. And here we have a massive Soviet assault, many squads of Penal Legion, many flamethrowers here. There are 3 flamethrowers with a spicy Dansak, again facing the wrong direction more or less. I mean, that is kind of doing nothing. Alcoholic has played a very good game, but I have to say, so far his use of this Dansak has been totally suspect. Anyway, Fallschirmjäger's supporting a long range, and they're really going to put the pain on. They really do hurt. Those FG assault rifles, or whatever they're called, those things are really good. Anyway, Dansak here doing epic damage. These are Volksgrenadiers going to want a GTFO. This is a horrible place to be. They are suppressed. Here comes some Storm Pioneers to try and displace the BPMG, which is going to reposition. We might need to see a bundle grenade come down here, and there it comes from the Fallschirmjäger, straight into the middle of the squad, achieving a lot of damage, but only 1 model death. And that's going to enable the weapon team to fall back. So I can't help but feel there that Disturbing was a little unlucky with the damage on that bundle grenade. They're so unpredictable, the Axis bundle grenades. They're very awkward to use. But I mean, they do cost 45 munitions, so I would expect them to be better than they really are. I don't know, that's my feeling on them anyway. Because, I mean, most of the time, I feel like I'd rather have just used a regular old Pineapple or a Model 24 grenade or something. The extra price that you're paying, it seems really, really like hit and miss. Sometimes you get a spot-on bundle grenade and it just does nothing. So anyway, Storm Pioneers on the right flank. Somehow, Disturbing has managed to push the Soviet player back off the back of that assault. So making use of this by grabbing the middle of the map. We've got a little scuffle here between some Engineers and Volksgrenadiers. Engineers going to grab some cover. Volksgrenadiers just going to kind of keep on going on their way. Of course, the DPS on an Engineer squad for the Soviets, very low. So not much to worry about here. Looks like we might have a salvage coming down. Very risky, yeah. And Disturbing is just going to think better of that immediately. You never want to start a salvage within line of sight of an enemy unit. They'll just come over and kill you. Of course, when units are salvaging, be they Storm Pioneers, be they Jaeger Light Infantry, be they Volksgrenadiers, they are incredibly vulnerable. They get massive defensive debuffs, and yeah, it's a really bad place to be. Speaking of a bad place to be, this Axis infantry getting roasted and toasted here in a scissor of flamethrowers. Never where you want to be at all. These Fallschirmjägers next on the barbecue list. So they're going to have to think about getting out of there. They're also suppressed. Meanwhile, on the right flank, some Storm Pioneers kind of trying to do damage to these Penal Legion. But again, he hasn't put away the metal detector, so he was effectively a man down that entire fight. And it sounds like a small thing, but that's what makes the difference. You know, that makes a big difference. Just take it from me if you don't believe me. Yeah. It's super important to put that metal detector away, especially with an elite infantry unit like Storm Pioneers, where every man who's not firing represents a substantial amount of lost damage. Anyway, got some engineers here for the Soviets making a tentative poke onto the victory point on the left, seemingly alcoholic, focusing the victory point conditions here. The tech for the Axis player, he has his Schwerwehrmacht Schlepper, and he has 130 fuel in the bank right now, so we could see a Panzer IV soon, or he might keep saving for a Panther. Alternatively, we could see a mechanized regiment HQ deployed from that Schwerwehrmacht Schlepper truck that's just arrived, and that would enable him to go for fuel conversion, possibly a King Panzer, sorry, a King Tiger, whatever. That's an unlikely tech route, but it is one that presents itself to Overcommand players. And when you're in the lead, which I would say kind of Disturbing is right now, at least kind of a very, I'd say he's just about got the upper hand in this game. And then the Tiger tank becomes an appealing option, and indeed, he is going to opt to spend the 40 fuel deploying this into the Mechanized Regiment HQ, so it seems that I do know something about what I'm on about, at least when I'm commentating on Overcommand West. Overcommand, of course, the Axis faction I play the most. I used to play Wehrmacht all the time, and I love them to bits, and I do miss them a lot. But I don't know. I just kind of like the bling of the new faction somehow. I don't even think that they're very good compared to Wehrmacht, actually. I kind of think Overcommand West at the moment are in need of a bit of help in the game. I think that they're probably the weakest faction in the game. But I still like playing as them. There's something nice about having extra stars of veterancy above your units, and I also like being able to deploy my trucks around the map and make the game a little bit more interesting that way. Anyway, here we've got a load of penal troops and some engineers making a run onto the bridge. Meanwhile, on the left, we've got an URA as a load of penals going to get the jump on these guys. Dansak at the back doing good work. That thing's up to 2 stars now. So Alcoholic clearly remembered how to use that. And is doing so effectively. How many kills on this one now? 8, 2 stars of veterancy. That's pretty good. These Fallschirmjägers going to do some work from behind this heavy cover. These engineers not going to win the DPS race against Fallschirmjägers there. Now that they're 2-star, they are actually a lot more durable because they have reduced chance to be hit, and also they will engage camouflage when in cover. So pretty cool stuff there. Here comes a Rakettenwerfer. That's going to be met by some Penal Legion who will be more than happy to roast and toast that. That's going to be a quick fallback. One of the luxuries, of course, of playing as Overcommand is that your anti-tank gun, the Rakettenwerfer, can fall back and garrison buildings. Here comes some Oversoldat, and they're going to get into a decent position to lob a bundle grenade onto the Dansak. Seemingly nobody actually going to fire it. And here comes a T-30. Is that a T-34-76? Yeah, of course. 85 not an option right now. T-34-76 on the field. I haven't checked the tech for the Soviet player for quite some while, but you can tell now he must have both his support armor Campanile and his tank of the battalion command. So this T-34 represents a serious problem. The anti-tank for the Overcommand player right now pretty much limited to just this Rakettenwerfer, which is not going to be enough. I mean, it might, it gets a good hit, and it might, if it's lucky, hold that tank off, but he needs to buy some AT, like, now. In fact, to be honest, I'd say it's dire enough that I would say build a Jagdpanzer. I'm always a man who wants to build a Jagdpanzer. You could go for a Panzer IV, actually, and it would hold this kind of thing off. Panzer IV or Jagdpanzer, but I think you kind of need to think about making an armor choice now, because your opponent is showing his hand, and the thing about these is they're really good tanks. I actually rate the T-34-76, apart from its veterancy ability, which is awful. I actually think that they're pretty good. So, and now he can spam them. Did you know? I think they're only 80 fuel. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? They build from this building. 80 fuel and 300 manpower. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, it's nice to see them come out at this timing when they're still going to be super useful. Unfortunately, they are locked away in the top tier of tech for the Soviet player. Anyway, engine damage comes down. Panzerfaust used there by the Fallschirmjägers. Volksgrenadier is going to lead the charge. They're going to look to salvage a Dansak spicy machine gun. Satchel charge comes down. The fallback is going to be down, but it's too slow. Boom, the satchel charge goes off. Actually, somehow, one of these Volksgrenadiers has still got that MG. He's actually going to get it out. Did not see that coming. Good man. Wow, somebody give this guy a medal. What a legend. surviving a satchel charge and being the last man to survive from his squad, getting out, crucially, the Danzak, and I reckon that could actually be quite powerful right now. Positioning it here would do a lot to stall the Russian offense. Remember, the Danzak is a machine gun that can reface very quickly, unlike the MG42, unlike the MG34, in fact, unlike all the other HMGs in the game, except for the Maxim. So, Su-76 is going to be backing up this T-34-76. The Su-76, of course, ever the potent AT gun, and also has a free barrage ability. Now, there's a demolition pack here placed by the Soviet forces. So I wonder if that'll come to play, come to do anything useful. Oh, that's not an assault you can take. I was going to say Soviet forces, Penal Legion. You do not want to run at some Fallschirmjägers and Obersoldaten in heavy cover. That is not something that works. The Jagdpanzer was the choice. So Disturbing, I'm going to go ahead and say that he actually knows what he's doing playing as this team, because he's pretty much doing what I say he should do. Whether or not that actually means he's any good, I have no idea. But at least he and I seem to think similarly. The Jagdpanzer's taken a couple of hits though. The Su-76 managed to keep them back. Oh, the Su-76 doing more damage with the barrage mode now. And here comes the T-34-76. The Jagdpanzer's in a decent position to deflect that. Where's the Raketenwerfer? It's repositioning now. So a couple of good hits there from the Jagdpanzer. Is he going to get cocky? Yeah, he's deciding to push it. He needs to be careful. He does know where the Su-76 is because it's using barrage mode right now. Oh, getting a fantastic hit onto the Raketenwerfer. That's some bad news for the overcommand player. Obersoldaten, though, flanking up here on the left, that's going to provide a really potent anti-infantry kind of area here. So, like, no Soviet infantry is going to be able to operate in this region without taking considerable amounts of fire. However, that might not be relevant shortly, as there's just so much Soviet infantry, not even Obersoldaten will keep them back. If I crack the tack, you can see, though, pretty much all the Soviet units were forced back to base. They're all just doing their thing, reinforcing, repairing, all that kind of stuff, which means that right now, Disturbing has free reign to take the map, and that's what he's doing. Another Danzak, the choice here for Alcoholic. He's going to use that to get these Obersoldaten out of there in conjunction with a couple of flamethrowers. Now, the Jagdpanzer is being repaired. These Storm Pioneers do have the repair tools, so that'll be repaired pretty rapidly. Fallschirmjäger in a good position on the bridge. They're going to contribute some more damage. Volksgrenadiers fighting from this structure. And this right now is Alcoholic fighting to not be besieged in his own base. He's fighting on the doorstep of his base. And if he loses this fight, things are going to go pretty badly, you have to feel. If the Jagdpanzer manages to end up around about here with supporting infantry in using this cover, using this heavy cover, maybe even this building, if he gets the Danzak into that building, that could also be really good for the Axis player. Basically what I'm saying is that Disturbing could look to set up a siege if he's able to take a good fight here. Now Storm Pioneers are going to get up on top of these flamethrower units, going to mow down as many as they can. 3-star unit of Volksgrenadiers could go down. Keep an eye on him on the left-hand side of your screen. Meanwhile, we've got a Danzak war here, and it's the Axis Danzak which is going to kill the Russian one. 5-star Volksgrenadiers going to maintain control over the bridge. Raketenwerfer and some Fallschirmjägers going to move on into the left here, where the Obersoldaten are likewise trading brutal amounts of anti-infantry. The Raketenwerfer gets a great shot into the T-34. The Jagdpanzer rotates and takes a shot, but that's going to miss. Another hit from the Raketenwerfer. The tank finds itself, the Soviet tank finds itself now at about half health. Obersoldaten going to discover the Su-76. That's going to go into barrage mode at point blank and just get those guys out of there. Those Obersoldaten, the Soviet player, did not want them on. Whoa, he has to be careful not to squad wipe his own guys. And going for the jugular now. Disturbing, moving on up, taking the crucial capture point. This one here is going to actually cut off a lot of resources for the Soviet player. This is actually going to negate 3 of the 4 command points that the Soviet player was in command of. The situation now pretty dire. The Soviet player's income is +7 fuel, +11 munitions. Let's compare and contrast as the game ends. Yeah, because Disturbing had 30 fuel and 19 munitions income because he was using fuel conversion as well. So. A handy victory there for Disturbing as Alcoholic chooses this moment to go and grab another drink. It was a pretty good fight. Nice determined early aggression from Alcoholic. I think in a sense he was unlucky not to discover this truck whilst it was deploying. He had 2 units of infantry and the scout car here, and if he'd have discovered this building whilst it was deploying, then that battle would have looked very, very different. But wisely enough, Disturbing chose to use his Volksgrenadiers to buy time, which is, you know, one thing that they excel at. Did not fall them back, did not instigate a chase until this building was out of its vulnerable state. and was able to defend stalwartly in the face of superior Soviet resources and aggression, taking some nice defenses in and around this location. Possibly, you could say, Alcoholic committing too hard to those offenses, because it was off the back of being forced to retreat that it was off the back of forcing Alcoholic to retreat that Disturb1ng was able to push out, take control of the map, and start establishing himself a lock around the Soviet base. And that's what happened. So, pretty good game between those two players. I'd like to cast some more by Disturb1ng for sure, because he and I seem to think quite similarly when it comes to using the Overcommand West forces. Likewise, Alcoholic, using totally, I would say, custom tactics, relying entirely on penals, using the units you don't really see very often, using the commander you almost never see. So, I'd be up for casting more games from Alcoholic too. Certainly an interesting player to watch. So, thank you very much to everybody out there watching on the channel, and this is Magpie842 signing out till next time.